Ladies and gentlemen, the last session for today is a very important one. And we experience it on a daily basis. And the theme is reputation and influence. In today's interconnected economy, reputation is actually a form of capital, one that influences trade, investment, and diplomacy. This session will examine the economics of perception, how brands, nations, and leaders craft influence through authenticity and transparency. In an era where perception shapes reality, reputation has become a new form of currency. In this session, we will dive into how nations and organizations can build influence through integrity, authenticity, and purpose. For this session, I would like to call upon our first guest. He's an international speaker. He is the Global Chief Research Officer and Executive Vice President, Ipsos, which is a global market research firm. Mr. Trent Ross is an Executive VP and is the Chief Research Officer of the Ipsos Corporate Reputation Service line. He consults with clients around the world on corporate reputation and risk management, and he has worked on corporate reputation and crisis management campaigns for top international companies, including ExxonMobil, Meta, Nestle, Microsoft, Coca-Cola, and Boeing. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Mr. Trent Ross, the Global Chief Research Officer and EVP, Ipsos.
Oh, we have a thing? So I'm here to talk about corporate reputation. It's something that I think is often overlooked when people think about their companies. They think about their brands, they think about their products, they think about how they're building their business. And corporate reputation often gets left behind because it's a nice to have. It's not a need to have, or at least that's the perception. When I started doing corporate reputation research in the late 1990s, very few people were really concerned about their corporate reputation. It was considered something that only oil and gas companies or tobacco companies really thought about, right? People were focused on their brand, not their reputations. That all changed one day in the late 90s when my good client at Microsoft was sued by the Department of Justice for bundling Internet Explorer with Windows. Sounds pretty cute today, doesn't it? That would be a huge problem that they would have. But instead, what happened was it immediately imperiled their global business. They were sued first by the Department of Justice and then by many other states around the country. And so, all of a sudden, corporate reputation became currency for them. And so, when we think about reputation now, we think about what is the future value of my reputation? Do I build reputation in order to build up benefit of the doubt, right? To increase the equity in my business. But there's another way to think about reputation, and that's what value does it give me my business now? How can I use it to make my business stronger? So if you take away one thing from this, I want you to understand that reputation is the grease on the wheel of business. The stronger your reputation, the easier it is to do business with your partners, to get on with the government, to hire the right people, to have the media listen to your message, and to have consumers buy your product. And you might say, well, consumers are the last people that we think care about reputation. And that's fair. But think about this. If you're a company and you're not trusted, do consumers listen to your advertising? Are consumers willing to pay a premium for your product? They're not. So we have global evidence, it would be up there, that essentially, as you build trust in your business, as you build trust in your company, you build the ability to drive marketing efficiency for your business. If you build trust, you spend less money for each product you sell on advertising, you spend less money in your government relations, you spend less money in your media relations. It just makes your business more efficient. And then the other thing I would say about reputation is that you can't just leave it to chance. So Paul Pullman, who was the former CEO of Unilever, he said, our market capitalization at the time was like $270 million, right? But our asset value is only $27 million. The rest of that value is the value of our reputation. That's a lot of money, right? Now, I've done the math, and that math works out great if you cherry pick, right? If you look only at certain companies and you look at their asset value compared to their market value, you'll see somebody like Google who has probably 800 times the market value of their asset value. And you'll see a company like ExxonMobil, which has more asset value than market value. You can say, okay, a good, strong reputation company on one hand, a low reputation company on the other, that makes up the difference in their asset value. That doesn't work as well when you look at, say, 120 companies at random. It starts to look a lot more random. So how do we prove it instead? Well, one way we can prove it is through survey research. And that's what we've done. We've done it a few different times over the years. We do it about every 5 years to make sure the math still holds. But what we find is across different types of companies, the higher the level of trust in the company, as trust goes up, the marketing efficiency of that company goes up. And marketing efficiency, we can calculate from their publicly released data, right? You can look and see how much a company spends on advertising and how much they have in sales. The ratio of advertising sales advertising spend to sales is marketing efficiency. And it's almost a straight line between trust and marketing efficiency across different types of industries, across different types of countries. It works at the regional level. It works everywhere. But why does this work, right? How does this mechanism work? So at the survey research level, we're able to look at how this works at the individual level. So you survey a whole bunch of people about their trust in companies, and then you ask them, do you find their advertising memorable? Are you willing to pay a premium for their product? Is it something that you'd go out of your way to look for? And what you see invariably is almost a straight line relationship. The more people trust companies, the more they're willing to pay attention to the advertising and to pay a premium for their products. So it works at the macro level and it works at the micro level. And so the challenge you have then is how do you build your reputation? I've had meetings with several clients while I've been here in Pakistan, and their questions are the same questions I see all over the world. Who are our stakeholders? Oh, don't worry about it at this point. Who are their stakeholders, and what should we say to them? So I think the first thing that you have to realize is that defining your stakeholders doesn't start with you. Defining your stakeholders starts with the issues that matter to your company. Oh, hey, look, a deck. I'm going to jump around here. Boop, boop, boop. Oh, hey, look, it's Paul Pullman. So here we are. The issues are what matters when you define your stakeholders, not where you sit, right? You are part of the environment of that issue. And so if you go issue by issue that your company cares about, then you understand what your stakeholder audience is. And from there, you can define the value of those stakeholders and the trust that, and what trust gets you, right? And so I mentioned this already. Trust in the government gets you a seat at the table. Trust among the media gets you heard. And trust among consumers gets you marketing efficiency. And now that we've got this, I'm going to jump to the math. You thought there would be no math, right? If you trust a company, you're more likely to follow them on social media, you're more likely to apply for jobs, lots of benefits. If you trust a company, you are more likely to give them the benefit of the doubt in a crisis. This is research done across over 120 companies across 25 countries. It works across the board. But it doesn't really differ very much by industry. The story is basically the same across industries. Oh, and look at that. For the mathematically inclined, that's an extremely strong fit line, right? Trust explains nearly 98% of benefit of the doubt. If you trust a company and they screw up, you're more willing to say, okay, I understand, I'll let that go. I'm sure they'll fix it. If you distrust a company, these guys here at the bottom, you're not going to get the benefit of the doubt. You're sunk. And here's what I was talking about in terms of present value, right? If you trust a company, you're more likely to think their advertising is believable and to pay a premium. And as I mentioned, this marketing efficiency, it goes up and up and up as trust goes up. It works across regions. So this isn't just a Western thing. This works everywhere. And look at this. This fit line's not as nice, right? There's a little bit of cloudiness to it. But marketing efficiency explains, or trust explains, a huge deal of marketing efficiency. So if your brand managers are saying to you as a corporate communicator, why should we invest in managing reputation? What difference does it make? It makes it easier to make money. And everybody likes to make money. So first, trust has an impact across the business, makes all of your business interactions stronger. Building trust gives you the benefit of the doubt in crisis. I have had so many clients who look like this because they didn't build trust ahead of time, and then they're fighting from behind, trying to catch up. And trust impacts people's willingness to purchase from you. Just because I have a couple of minutes here, I'm going to go back and look at Paul Pullman's math just for you real quick. All right, so there's Paul. The other thing he says, in addition to, it's 130 billion in market cap against 30 billion in assets. I had my numbers a little bit off trying to go by heart, but that was pretty close. He also says that reputation has a habit of arriving on foot and departing by horseback. That's a pretty well-known cliche. I like to say that reputation is like an oil tanker. It takes a really long time to change direction, but if you screw up, you're going to be cleaning your reputation off the beach for 20 years. So here's the math, right? There's Unilever at the top. His math worked out. This was current as of about a year ago. You see these guys on the other side, Prudential, AT&T, GM, Shell, and United. They're all challenged, right? They have more cash on hand and assets than they have in market cap. But when you map this out to the broadest level, you see that your scatter plot no longer fits all that well. Trust doesn't really explain that much difference in your ratio of market capitalization to asset value. Now, what was I before? Oh, that other scatter plot, the one that works much better. So if you take away from this, trust up, marketing efficiency up. It's easier to make money if you build your reputation. Reputation is a value multiplier, not a cost center. And with that, I'll turn it over to my colleague here because I think I've gone through that.